Okay, we'll move on to our class. We're trying to be a little bit more efficient with our time here since we're trying to shorten it up a little bit to be a little bit more concise. Today we're going to talk about, give the last class on the molecule as it's taught in the writings of the ancient wisdom. And one of the greatest aspects of the group, what he calls what we call the molecular order, the Tibetan calls group initiation. So group initiation really is a process that takes you into what we call the molecular order that links heaven and earth, links the human kingdom to the spiritual hierarchy, which the spiritual hierarchy is already linked up. The spiritual hierarchy is linked to Shamballa, and Shambhala is linked to the solar logos. And the solar logos is linked to who? Anybody? What's the next step up?
Well, the galactic logos.
No, the seven solar systems.
You're right.
Oh,
Seven
whom
solar
about
systems. The one
whom about
about
not can be
the one about
No,
what?
whom not can be said.
The one
not
about
can be
whom
said.
not can be said, which is the entity, the logos that presides over seven solar systems. And he's such a high entity that the Tibetan calls him the one about whom not can be said, because he's way beyond what we can understand. Well, just think on our own planet, the consciousness of Christ itself is way beyond the average person. And then the consciousness of Sanat Kumara, the Lord of the world, is higher than that. And then the solar logos, he's way up there, a lot higher. Just to give you an idea of how much higher the solar logos would be, look, how many Earths do you think it would take to produce the mass of one of our sun? How many Earths could we fit into the sun if we had to duplicate them?
890.
Go up.
Okay, 3,410.
Okay, let's have another guess. Adam, what do you think? How many Earths would it take to fill up the sun? Curtis is too low.
A million.
3,000?
What?
According to
Right,
Google,
Adam.
it's
Oh,
1
Wow,
million thirty.
I can't believe Adam was right. A million. Did you know that, or was it a guess, Adam?
You looked it up.
No, thank you, Artie. I did not look it up. I'm outside gardening.
We thought maybe he asked AI or something.
I looked it up and it is 1.3 million.
Oh, 1.3 million?
According to
I did not know
Google.
that. I learned that it was a million when I was back in grade school.
It depends on if you smush all the volume, like if the Earth were a sponge, you can get 1.3, but if they remain spheres, it's right around 1,960,000.
Oh, wow. Good comment there. So anyway, it's over a million. 1.3 million as far as mass is concerned.
that's a lot of Earths.
So there we have the solar logos presiding over the mass of over a million Earths. And our logos is just presiding over the mass of 1 millionth of that amount of matter. So that might give us a rough idea. That solar logos, he must be way up there to preside over so much more. And then when you have look at the one about whom not can be said, presiding over 7 solar systems, and Sirius is just one of them. And how much bigger than our sun is Sirius, do you think?
A lot bigger.
Yeah, a lot bigger. I can't remember how much. I think it's dozens of times bigger anyway. maybe more than that. But plus, there's 3 star systems in the Sirius system. That's just one that we know about that is within the 7. And there's some of the star systems are really, really large. So some of the loci are a lot more massive as far as the amount of territory that they preside over than what we have on this star system. But so anyway, we've got a lot going for ourselves. So anyway, we our goal right now is to link up to the spiritual hierarchy, and the spiritual hierarchy is linked up to Shamballa. And he says that this group initiation will lead us to be able to link up, clear up to Shambhala. Maybe not to the solar logos completely, though if we're linked to one, we're linked to the other, but we all have our ring pass knot. Who can tell us what the ring pass knot is? Let's pick on Annie again. I know she knows what it is. What's a ring pass knot, Annie?
It's the limit for what we believe in and think is true.
Yeah. So if you go beyond your ring pass, if something's beyond your ring pass knot, what does that mean?
It means that you're learning something, and something you didn't believe in becomes truth.
Yeah, it's beyond what you can kind of comprehend, in other words. So in other words, there's a lot of things in the spiritual hierarchy governed by the Christ that is beyond the consciousness of even disciples here upon the earth. But then there's things going on in Shambhala that's even beyond the consciousness of the spiritual hierarchy, but not all of it. They comprehend quite a bit of it. But then there's things going on in the consciousness of the solar logos that's beyond the ring pass knot of Sanat Kumara and Shambhala and so on. And then you get to the one about whom naught can be said. The reason that he's named that is because a lot of what he does is beyond the understanding of everybody in the sphere of the solar logos on down. Now, that doesn't mean we're not affected by it. We're affected by all these higher lives and entities, but many of them are doing things that's beyond our understanding. But they are also doing things that influence us in ways that we can understand. So just because they have things in their work and endeavors that is beyond our ring pass knot doesn't mean it's beyond us in every way. We can, the disciples, when they were with Christ, for instance, understood some of the things that he taught, but did they understand everything, Tyler? What do you think?
Did who understand everything? What'd you say?
The disciples of Christ, when they were with him,
Oh, yeah.
they understood some things, but did they understand everything he taught?
No, they sure didn't.
Okay, can you think of some things that maybe they didn't understand?
Well, I'm not sure anyone understood really what the molecule was about back then, and why they why would they were gathered in 12s. I don't think they knew that. Or, you could just keep going from there.
They didn't understand the resurrection. They didn't understand the keys to physical immortality.
And did Peter understand forgiveness? Do you remember what he asked about forgiveness? Lord, how many times should I forgive? 7 times? Is that enough? And then I can kind of let the guy have it?
Yeah.
And what did Jesus say to that guy?
No,
7 times 70.
yeah. A countless, endless amount.
Yeah, he was teaching them about forgiveness, but they still didn't get the point, and that helped them to register it. So there's a lot of things beyond the ring pass knot of the lower kingdoms to the higher kingdoms, and this is what makes life interesting. Is, you know, if we knew everything right now, we would just return to pure spirit, and we wouldn't even be in the worlds of time and space at all. But we were down here to struggle through and to learn. And as we learn and progress, it gives us joy. And man is that he might have joy, so to speak, was the true, certainly a true principle. But anyway, the one of the great endeavors of the molecule is to create a link with Shamballa, not only the hierarchy, but clear up to Shamballa. And when this happens, the main aspect that's in Shamballa is power. Now, the main aspect that governs Christ and the spiritual hierarchy is love. But beyond this is, above this is the aspect of willpower and purpose. And this aspect has to be brought in for wholeness. So for the disciple, as he gets into this, the group initiation, he brings in all these aspects, not only the love of the hierarchy, but the power from Shambhala. And he says this: the energy of the divine can and will galvanize with its dynamic potency the entire human kingdom, to the point where a group transition will take place from the fourth into the fifth kingdom. So here DK points out the goal of all of our evolution and where this is all headed. It's all headed to make a group transition from the fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom is the human kingdom, and the fifth kingdom is the spiritual hierarchy where the Christ and the masters reside. So this will begin with individuals, and then smaller groups, and then eventually the whole earth will be the barriers between the whole earth and the spiritual kingdom of the Christ will be removed. So there'll be a complete interplay between the two. And this will not happen all at once. The consummation of it, where it happens for the whole earth, will be a long time in the future.
Where were you reading at there?
Externalization of the hierarchy, page 667.
6 and 7?
667. Page
607.
667.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Then the externalization is predicted here. This is from Disciple in New Age, Volume 2, page 381. When an adequate number of members of the fourth kingdom have undergone the process of initiation, technically understood, then the fifth kingdom will come into exoteric manifestation. And exoteric manifestations means manifestation here in the physical, where we can see and hear what's going on. And this may be more literal than many students suppose, where he says this, and this is a really good quote: the hierarchy incarnates on the earth again, and for the first time since its last incarnation in Atlantean days. It is, however, a group incarnation and not the incarnation of the individual members. This is probably a subtle point too difficult for you to grasp. and the you was the people from Alice A. Bailey's group. He says, this group here won't understand what I'm saying, but I'm going to tell you anyway. And they didn't quite understand that point, that the externalization of the hierarchy says will happen through a group incarnation, not individual incarnation of the masters, but a group incarnation.
He says they're already here, many of them.
Yeah, but we don't have the molecular link yet. When a molecule is created of like 24, 12 females and 12 males, and they become one through the soul, then the Christ and the masters can look on that group that have gone through the group initiation, and they will actually be able to incarnate into that group. So can you imagine having a group of people together and having the masters have complete access, so they can actually speak to the group and speak through the group. So they could come to Soph, and Soph could say, hey, a master is speaking through me, and here's what Saint Germain has to say. And Annie could say, yeah, they're speaking to me, and here's what the master Jupiter has to say. And then Tyler could be, he could get an impression, and he says, well, here's what Jesus has to say. And so that would be, in other words, look at it this way, your physical body is a means for the higher part of yourself to explore this world and to be able to communicate and speak to other people that's in this world. Okay, so the molecule, when it's created through group initiation, will be a vehicle that higher lives will be able to come and speak and communicate with the group as a whole, or maybe individuals in the group, or maybe when the group gathers, the thought form can materialize right in front of us, a thought form of one of the masters, and speak to us and teach us or guide us to our next steps.
AJ, what wouldn't it be that a master will use the group as a vehicle to speak to the whole world? Wouldn't it be like this?
Well, we don't know all the aspects because a group like this has never been created, but he indicates that what the first thing that will happen in that direction will be when such a molecular group is created, it will have power to have communication with other groups. Now, these other groups may not be molecular yet, but there are a lot of groups that gather together and meditate and try to receive something from higher sources. And this will be one of the first jobs of the molecule when it's created, is to look upon the world and find other groups that are trying to communicate with the higher realms. And then they will send them messages and direct them in the path of creating the molecular order for themselves. And then when a second molecule is created, it will be linked to the first. And all the molecules that are created will be linked to each other. And when enough of them are created, then they will have power to bring peace on earth, goodwill to mankind, which will be a glorious day. but there'll also be many different, good things. So he says that healing miracles will be commonplace. That Tibetan doesn't talk a lot about miracles in the biblical sense. And I think the reason why is because an impressive, if it's, let's say a master were to appear and he were to walk on water, he says, okay, I'm going to demonstrate I'm a master, and he walks on water, okay? Everybody's going to be impressed with that, and the most and many people that's not very spiritually advanced will, and they will be expecting things of a lower order to manifest rather than a higher order. So miracles are somewhat counterproductive, which is illustrated with the life of Jesus. He performed a tremendous number of miracles, and then after it looked like he was subject to death like everybody else, everybody fell away, and he only had 120 people that were still interested in what he taught. After all that he did, only 120 were really interested in the substance of what he taught. Everybody else was just impressed. Well, a great miracle here. He must be the Messiah. Well, I guess he's not the Messiah. They crucified him. Heck with it.
Well, that's why it'll say low here and low there. There will be members of the lower orders that can perform miracles on the physical plane that will deceive many, I think. They won't be about raising consciousness. They'll just be about, performing what you could call cheap parlor tricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's just it. If the dark brothers or lower natured people or non-entities, whatever, if anybody can perform manipulation of matter, then that looks like a miracle, but
Right.
it's not the
Right.
same thing.
Yeah.
But they're doing the same thing.
DK tells us that the dark brothers actually perform more miracles than the brotherhood of light does.
Yeah, so it would be counterintuitive for the good guys to do miracles because bad guys can do miracles.
Well, it'll be beneficial to do miracles because when, say, people of sincere intent need healing, and then the Brotherhood of Light can direct them and help them to be healed permanently, not just on a temporary basis, because a lot of the healing by the Dark Brothers is just temporary. You hear a lot of these people that are healers, like say John of God. A lot of people think he's on the light, but he's had a lot of accusations against him, and so it's questionable whether or not where he's from. And many other healers are like that. And when you look into them, you find out that they have a lot of sexual accusations against them, and they're really very earthy. They're not trying to bring people up into the spirit.
Yeah, they can't. That's the key right there. They don't induce the feelings of spiritual awareness or the spirit like your soul can produce. They can't do that.
And he says when we have this connection, human beings in group formation will act as transmitters of pure spiritual energy, which will vivify every form and every kingdom in nature. So that this will be the big difference. Instead of just drawing attention to themselves so people give them money and stuff, it will vivify all the kingdoms in nature, clear down to the vegetable and animal. And there's interesting prophecies about the vegetable kingdom being so stimulated that they will produce fruit that is much more abundant than it is today even. And then there's this promise. Man's work, he says, is to raise the dead to life. to bring brotherhood into expression on the physical plane and to transmit divine energy to a waiting world of forms. So there's really no great miracle greater than having your own personal vibration raised up from the consciousness of the earth plane to the consciousness of spirit. That is, I would consider that to be the greatest miracle. I've had miracles happen in my life on the physical level, but on but what happens internally when there's a transformation inside yourself, so that, like, for sure there's a higher spiritual reality. That's perhaps the greatest miracle of all. I'll end here by reading this comment by DK about the link with Shamballa. Oh, before I do, I might just mention that Shamballa energy is power. The connection with the spiritual hierarchy will bring that transformation through love and a consciousness that's raised up, which will be very miraculous. But then the link will be increased until it's connected to Shambhala, and then the power energy will come. And this will be important to give the disciples power to be able to prevail against the world, because all the times in the past when the disciples of the hierarchy have gone forth, they have been suppressed and overcome. And this time it's our destiny to prevail. And to prevail, we must not only have the link to Christ, but to the Father energy in Shambhala. And this power needs to be blended with the love energy to cause the disciples to prevail. So for the first time. And he says this: see you therefore the necessity of eventually organizing a group in the world which will be so constituted and so carefully chosen and interiorly related that all its members are initiates and all have created their own rainbow bridges with understanding and accuracy, and can now work with such complete unity that the group Antakarana becomes a channel of unimpeded communication direct from Shambhala to the group, because every member of the group is a member of the hierarchy. And in this manner, the three planetary centers arrive at the needed relationship, and another great triangle reaches true functioning activity. When this takes place, a revelation undreamt of will be manifested upon the earth, a new divine quality of which no knowledge at present exists. It will make its presence felt, and the work of the Buddha and of the Christ and of the coming avatar will be superseded by one for whom both Shambhala and the hierarchy have unitedly waited, and of whom the doctrine of the Messiah and the doctrine of avatars have been and are only distant symbols. The group, therefore, to whom I address this instruction is not the group or groups who will first receive these papers. The instruction is intended for a group which will come later and which will prepare the way. So he's saying, all these things I'm giving out, he says, the people I'm giving out to aren't ready for them yet. I'm really talking to the groups in the future that will understand where I'm coming from and how to put all this together. And so Our goal is to be a part of that and put all the pieces together so we can link up to the spiritual hierarchy, which is linked up to Shamballa, which is linked up to the solar logos, which is linked up to the one about whom naught can be said, and up to the galactic logos. So we have a lot in store for us, a lot to look forward to, and just the next few steps are going to be very significant. Okay, any comments or questions before we sign off?
How long ago did he say that to his students?
Probably about 48 to 49. It's in raise and initiations. So that was,
No, years. Okay, years 48, 49. That's more than that's like 8 years ago.
yeah, 70, 80 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
anyway, we have a lot to look forward to, and we will, like I say, we everybody earmark on their calendars May 1st, 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will have a group meditation for the Wesak Festival. And then we'll meet again next Sunday at 10 a.m. for a regular group meeting. Until then, may the Spirit be with you, and may you prepare for group initiation, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.